Holy smokes, 50 episodes. A lot happened in the hangar this time. A lot of work was done. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something. Comment if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.
Well, welcome back to the hangar again. Quick update. No artsy intro like the last video with me walking and all the cuts, that kind of stuff. Just straight into it. I got new plugs, electrical plugs. If you remember, the last video was me discovering that those plugs were junk. Follow me as I walk around here. Let's just see here. Do I have that? Yeah, I do. Okay. So, here, ladies and gentlemen, let's put it over here. Let's take a look. Oh, sorry, really bad camera work there, back and forth. Okay, this was the kit that I had purchased that is absolute junk. Like I said, looks cool, looks good. All the parts and everything else, they just don't line up. It's absolute junk. If you see that on Amazon, I left a review, piece of garbage. So I ordered replacements. Oh, there's my Rotax manual. By the way, that is the manual that I use for if I'm citing specifications or any of that kind of stuff. That's the manual I use. Okay, so what I've got here, let's move this stuff aside. New plugs. And I bought two. I only need one of each, but I bought two. And these ones came from DigiKey. That's the 4 plug. That's the 2 plug. There's the pins and the sockets. They're sockets because that's where the pins go into. Just this costs about what this cost. However, this is these are far better quality connectors, and I'll you know what? I'll put a part number down below, or a link to the. No, I'll just put the part numbers down below on the description as to what this is, in case you also have a Rotax engine and the plugs that were supplied have just failed, broken, what have you, and you want to replace them. These ones are very good quality, much more expensive, but yeah, it's worth it. So, okay, that's the first part of the update. I'm going to be changing those plugs. I'm going to be finishing with the exhaust system. I haven't got all the springs on. I'm going to put the safety wire onto the exhaust, and I just remembered just now I do not have the red high heat silicone for the exhaust springs, so I'll have to either run out and get some, and you guys won't notice that, or I'll come back another day and do that. So anyways, so quick update. Electrical is going to be finished on the engine. I'm going to get the exhaust sensors and the cylinder head sensors plugged in, that kind of stuff. Fuel system, exhaust system. I could probably actually start the engine. Ooh, do I dare? Do I dare? Leave a comment. Leave a comment if you think I should, and then at the end of the video you'll know whether I did or didn't. So, speaking of which, if you like what you see, hit the subscribe button and hit the like button, because that helps with the algorithm. I've been noticing my videos do come up on the suggested lists a lot more now, so which is good. So that's it. That's the projects for today. More work on getting the engine ready. So, oh, and in the comment section, I'm going to post a comment myself on the video, and it's going to be, it's going to say, click reply, let me know where you're from. That way it's all in the same thread, and we'll see how many people do that. 2, 3, 10, 20, who knows? Just say hi from, Minneapolis, Minnesota, or Ocala, Florida, or wherever, or Stuttgart, Germany, anywhere. So that'd be great if you could do that. And without further delay, pitter patter, let's get at her. These hoses at the bottom of the carburetors, the ones that were on here were very hard and almost cracking. So I got rid of them, and I went to order, I figured, oh, a specialty hose or something. Probably not, but I just checked anyways to see what the cost was. Holy smoke, $23 per carburetor for a hose. Okay, and then I checked with the Rotex dealer, and his online price was like $3 or $3.50, $3.50 or something like that each, which is way more reasonable. And I scratched my head going, you know what? All it is this fuel hose. It is 1/8 inch fuel hose, and these two points where the hose plugs into, in case you didn't know, is the vent for the float bowl. Okay, so air has to go in and out of this float bowl, and that's where it goes, which is why this hose at the very bottom, I still need to take a small drill bit and drill 2 or 3 little holes on the bottom, so if fuel does get into the hose, it will make its way out and drip out. Normally you won't see fuel in this hose unless your float is overflowing, and then it goes up the channel and starts coming out. And if this thing is dripping and full of fuel, that means that your float is stuck open, and you might have a fuel tank or something up here, or if you've got fuel pressure on, you need to service the carburetor. So it should be mostly dry. You might see some fuel in there every once in a while, especially in turbulence, that kind of stuff. Something might splash and make its way in, but it shouldn't be dripping constantly. Okay, so there's that one tip. This is simple 1/8 inch, let me grab the rest of it, 1/8 inch fuel hose. I could have used the clear hose. I actually looked for the clear hose. The automotive supplier was sold out, so I got the blue instead. It's colorful. I kind of like it. So yeah, that's another quick little tip for these hoses over here. They don't need to be replaced often. This is not an annual replacement thing. Here's the old one, and as you can tell, this one was on that engine for about 18 years, and it's really hard over here, so definitely time to replace it. And there's some 2-stroke motor oil in there, because when I opened up these carbs, the float bowls were full of 2-stroke oil, which eventually got into these. Yeah, that tells you that can't. Anyways, enough of that. Onward. I will replace these plugs, and I'll probably film a little bit of this, and then edit a lot of it out, because you've already seen it. It's putting plugs on wires. The only thing you should have to crimp properly is a proper crimping tool. Now this one I've had going on 30 years. 30? Yeah, more than 30 years. This is old. This is more than 30 years old. Still in great shape. Obviously never rained on. You don't have to get ones this fancy. You know, there are some that are sold that are $600. No. This one that's ratcheting, they usually range in the $80 area, sort of thing, $90 area, which is still too expensive if you're only going to be putting a couple of plugs on once every several years. They have ones that don't have the ratchet function, and they just standard crimp squeezers, that kind of stuff. Do your homework, read up the reports on those things, see if people like them or not. They tend to run in the I think I saw them for in the $20 to $25 range for those crimpers, the ones that aren't ratcheting. So, but you need it. You need that in order to crimp these type of plugs and well, the pins and sockets onto the wiring. It's a must. So, with that being said, I will carry on and start replacing these pieces of junk with pieces that aren't junk. So, Pitter patter. This is the 2 conductor, and that's going to be for the kill switch for the mags. Because you have 2 mags, you need 2 kill switches. Now, if you look at the part number, this is a DT06, that's the family of these connectors, and then it's a 2S, 2 meaning 2 wires, S for socket. Now you have sockets and you have pins. And the pins go into the sockets. I'm putting the socket side on the engine and the pin side on the aircraft. And yes, the label says gold. I didn't want to buy the gold-plated ones of the pins and sockets, but they were sold out of the regular coated ones. The gold is usually used for, you know, data, that kind of stuff, or high current. It's better, but it's double the price. But I think in the total cost it was an extra $2.50 for this pack. Big deal. But yeah, they're gold. So I have gold on the airplane. Cool. See if I can show how I'm doing this. You insert the wire into that little hole. And you push it in until you see it. There. I don't know if you can see the copper there. I'll move it back and forth. And then when you see it at the end, you simply crimp it down. And I hope that was in focus. Okay, now according to the instructions, both the pin side and the socket side are inserted the same way. They have a silicone seal at the back of these plugs, which has a little hole in it. You don't have to remove that. You push the pin and wire the whole thing right through the hole works, and it seals around the wire. So, I'm going to insert this one in number 2 because that's where it belongs. And let's just see if we can follow along with this. In you go, and just push it right through the hole works. There we go. Locked in place. And there we go. I don't know if you can see the pin in there, but there is a pin in there now in the number 2 position. Now I got to get the pin in the number 1 position, which is interesting because, well, the wires are short, but I think it'll work. And there we go. Perfect. Pins 1 and 2 are in. Now, this is the engine kill switch, or the mag, left to right mag, or mag 1, mag 2, whatever you want to call it, when you're doing your mag checks. And that's it. Now I simply plug it together, snaps in. It's watertight. According to the manufacturer's documentations, these are with the proper insulation and the wiring and so on, you can immerse these in 1 meter of water and they won't leak. That's pretty good. They will not crack, break, or anything else down to minus 55 Celsius, or 120 Celsius. Now those of you who are in Fahrenheit, remember 100 degrees Celsius at STP or sea level is the boiling point of water. So 120 degrees Celsius is 20 degrees above the boiling point is what these will survive without cracking or discoloring or any damage. They're designed to go into engine bays of cars, trucks, boats, airplanes. Well, maybe not airplanes. They don't list airplanes because that means you'd have to add insurance. But this is experimental, so I'm okay. So there we go. Now my mag switch, my left-right mag switch, is now connected on the engine. All I've got to do is hook up the charging circuit, and then there's the RPM sensing, and then there's an additional ground point over here for the other plug, which I have to throw this one away, and the wiring is done. Bonus! Pitter patter. Let's get at her. Okay, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, there we go. There's the mag switch plug right there, and there's the charging circuit, RPM, and the ground for the engine. 2 plugs, done, and they fit beautifully. They snapped in nicely. Yeah, don't ever buy junk. Okay, I need to wire these up. Hopefully you can see the detail. And first thing you need to do, run a piece of wire about long enough to go through it and have a little extra. This ain't rocket science, but it's got to be done right. Okay, so I'm going to do this first, this top spring here. They're all going to be done the same, so I'm just going to film this one. I'm going to go underneath the loop for the exhaust, through the spring, underneath the other loop, and then fold it back. And there we go. Good, self? It's going good. Okay, then we spin it. It's just through here. We're going to give it some wraps or some spins. Now we're not going to make it overly tight. As a matter of fact, I want this a bit loose. And the reason for that is quite simply, first let's cut off the excess. Fold this back on itself. I'm going to twist it down a bit first. Put a little downward loop on it. There. And then in. So I don't catch on anything. Now, this is actually quite loose. And it needs to be. Because remember, we have springs on here. This has got to be able to move and wiggle and jiggle around as the engine vibrates. If you tighten these things up tight on all of the springs, there's no give, there's no movement. You have to have it loose enough so that it allows movement as the engine runs. That's why we have springs here and not bolts. So, the next thing I need to do is I need to get some high heat silicone and squeeze it along this wire, the full length of the spring, and squeeze it into the spring as best possible so that it glues the wire to the spring. The reason for that is if a piece of the spring breaks off, it'll stay adhered or glued to that, and hopefully it stays there long enough so that on your next pre-flight, which will be the next before you take off again, you notice that and you say, oops, I need to fix something first. So that's the whole point of this, is so that if this spring breaks, it doesn't go through your prop and destroy your prop, okay, which it would do. So the wire holds it in place. The added silicone helps if it breaks in the middle of it and one piece falls off or what have you, it tries to hold it together. It's not perfect, but yeah, the silicone will still allow movement. Some people just put silicone on there. I don't like that. I would prefer to put a wire and then the silicone. So I'm going to do this to all the springs, and I'm going to run the line through it. I'm going to make sure that they're loose enough so that that allows movement, and that's how you wire up the exhaust springs. So I'll when I get some silicone on there, I'll show that too. You know, I might actually run to the. I get the hangar doors open. It takes too long. Close the doors. Close everything up. Here I'm rattling again. We'll cut that out. Now they're just vent holes. They're not, you know, well, they are also drain holes. Make sure I put this at the bottom as well. Yeah, it's off to the side a little bit. That's fine. Okay. That's all I wanted to do. Melt 2 holes in tubing so it can vent. Okay, final update for today anyways. Plumbing's done. Look at this. Guys, let me move this camera around in a very unprofessional manner. Okay, so let's go to this side here. I never did like how messy the plumbing was on a lot of these engines. So this is going feeding to the carbs through a little T. There's the pulse hose, 2 hoses. There's the throttle cables, oops, a little higher up there with the camera, and the choke cables, fuel filter, and down they go. Electrical wiring over here. I'll get back a little bit. Electrical wiring here has to be strapped in yet, and down it will go. Cylinder head probes, exhaust gas probes, all the stuff down there. Let's move you around here. Rotten camera work again. All the stuff that is down there needs to be organized, strapped, and secured properly, and then I'm going to be putting both the lower and the front firewall on there. When I got the aircraft, it had the heater blower assembly here, which essentially went to a duct here and then what have you. Well, I'm not going to be using the heater, not in this airplane, at least I don't plan on it. And I do have the metal firewall base piece here for this. So I'm going to put that here. I'm going to put the metal plate here and make sure there's a hole for the cabling and plumbing and wiring. And the only thing left to hook up is the oil injection cable. I just need a washer and a split ring to secure it. And this side is effectively finished. Done did. Another milestone. Okay, exhaust system. I did not go and get the silicone. I had a visitor, 2 visitors actually, and you know, when that happens, you talk a lot. And I'm not one for talking a lot. I don't talk much at all. I'm really very quiet. I know people think that I talk a lot, and they even comment that I talk a lot, but I don't. I really don't. Okay, yeah, I do. And when someone visits in the hangar, guess what happens? No work gets done, and we yak and talk and discuss, and yeah. Hey, but that's called socializing. It's all part of this. Okay, let's take a look at from this end of the engine, what it looks like. Ooh, looks like an engine there starting. Exhaust system is finished with the exception of the silicone beads that need to go along these wires to help secure that. And I'm glad I painted the exhaust because it was rusty looking and now it's not. Yeah, that's not rust. That is the copper anti-seize and a high temperature anti-seize, so that this will always have some flex and movement to it. So that's it. That's the work for now. Thanks for following along. Appreciate it. Appreciate the comments and the encouragement and the suggestions. And we shall see you again here in the hangar. So remember, keep your stick on the ice. Bye for now.
Hey, thanks for watching. Appreciate every one of you that comments and likes and subscribes. And well, if you have questions, leave them in the comments, and I will do my best to answer. See you again in the hangar. Bye-bye.